Shavuot Tov, everybody. I'm Marlene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by Lay of the Land. Now, I'm fighting a little bit of allergy or sinus infection or something that is making me both sound awful and look like I haven't slept in about a week, which is pretty much the case. So please forgive me. If you watched yesterday's report about my trip down south to Kfar Aza Re'im and Nachal Oz and Sderot, it is up on our Facebook page. Unfortunately, it was too long for YouTube, and despite verification, they still wouldn't let me post it. So if you do want to watch that report, it is on our Facebook page. You can find that at Lotwell South. That's at LOTLSITE. But let's take a look at those top stories making headlines today, because we are on day 94 of Israel's war against Hamas. And we begin with news that the IDF chief spokesperson last night, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, who really feels like he's part of the family. He comes into our homes every night to update us with his briefings. He announced that the northern Gaza Strip, the Hamas command has fallen. It is in Israel's hands. And earlier today, our defense minister Yoav Gallant announced that Israel will be moving into phase 2 in the north of the Gaza Strip. If you recall, at the beginning of the war, the defense minister said that we'll be running this war in 3 phases. The first is very, very intense fighting. The second is taking out pockets of resistance, and the third will be a new security reality. What that is, we still don't know yet, but we do know that the IDF is moving more towards the center and the south, still notifying civilians to move to those safe places, announcing where they will be attacking. This is unprecedented in the history of warfare. Armies just don't do this. But of course, we want to do things differently in the center and the south, and we want to make sure that there are as few civilian deaths as humanly possible. But what the IDF are finding as they uncover tunnel after tunnel after tunnel, I mean, what people have to understand is that there are hundreds of thousands of kilometers of tunnels underneath the Gaza Strip. In fact, a remark was made to me yesterday. How are buildings still standing in the Gaza Strip if there was so much tunneling beneath it? But this is being uncovered, and as you can hear, the neighborhood symphony have a lot to say about that as well. But what has been discovered, and very, very grisly, is a cage believed to be used to have kept some of our hostages in. We can't forget there are 130 plus hostages still being held in the Gaza Strip. We want them home immediately. As troops have moved in, they've also found evidence of training manuals, copies of Mein Kampf, that is the book penned by Hitler, translated into Arabic, as well as plans for the attack of the 7th of October. Soldiers today have also found in a tunnel underneath a school pictures of how children are used or trained to use weapons. This is child abuse. The use of children as child soldiers is prohibited by international law conventions, and this is what should be tried at The Hague on Thursday, not a trumped up case of genocide. Meanwhile, we turn now to the north. Earlier today, it was announced that the IDF had eliminated a commander of Hezbollah responsible for carrying out operations in the south of Lebanon as attacks against Israeli positions. On Saturday, we saw a significant flare-up with drones entering Israeli airspace, as well as rockets being fired towards Israeli positions, which Hezbollah say was in response to the assassination of al-Aruri. Al-Aruri was the founder of the Hamas's Izzuddin al-Qassam brigade, that is the Hamas military wing. Israel suggested to Lebanon that German troops be stationed along the border to try and keep the peace. The Lebanese government have turned down this offer. Meanwhile, we highly doubt that the people of Lebanon want to be dragged into another war, but more about that in a few minutes. Now, I just mentioned that on Thursday and Friday we'll see the case that South Africa has brought against the state of Israel, claiming that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza Strip. This will start at The Hague. Representing Israel will be Professor Malcolm Shaw. We don't have details if there's anybody else in Israel's legal team. And as part of our rights, we are allowed to choose one of the judges to take place or to take part on a 15-judge panel. Israel's choice is retired former Supreme Court Chief Justice and Holocaust survivor Aharon Barak, one of the most respected jurists in the country. Meanwhile, as part of their case, Israel is claiming, or as part of their case rather, South Africa is claiming that some of the errant utterances by far-right lawmakers, where they've called for Palestinians to be removed or to be eliminated, is evidence. And I just want to say something. South Africa, you have parliamentarians like Julius Malema and others who routinely call for the genocide of farmers and white people. So really submitting that as your evidence of a case of genocide when you know that it is not Israeli policy, Israeli official policy, as much as it is South African policy to call for genocide. The fact that you are entering that as your evidence is absolutely ludicrous. Meanwhile, the chief counsel for South Africa is John Dugard. John Dugard, I think, has been salivating all his career over this opportunity to take Israel to some kind of international court of justice. Yesterday, the former head of Israeli military intelligence, Amos Yadlin, said that he believes that the IDF know exactly where Hamas leader and mastermind of the 7/10 attacks, Yahya Sinwar, is. He believes that he has surrounded himself with many of the live hostages, and that is why there hasn't been any attempt to eliminate him. We have no confirmation from the IDF. And finally, because we like to end on some good news, I mentioned a few minutes ago that the people of Lebanon don't want to be dragged into a war with Israel. And what a surprise that tourists and travelers had at Al Rafiki airport last night when they found out that Christian Lebanese had hacked the systems, and all over the airport there was an anti-Hezbollah message with, Hezbollah, you blew up Beirut port, you're not going to do the same to the country. We will not be dragged into a war with Israel. Well, we stand firmly with the people of Lebanon. And that brings me to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel Site. I don't know where you'll find these guys, but they bark a lot. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief, and we're on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. Almost forgot that for a second. So guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'm going to try and take care of this flu, and I'll see you again tomorrow.